Hello everyone. Right now you are going to follow a presentation that we have prepared for the class Marketing Management 1920. This presentation has to do with Chrysler and Daimler merger failure. This presentation is presented by Isayon Paradev, Isuf Ramadani, Nadira Maguelati, Sardor Tilavov, and Ines Ezegani. I am Isuf and I will start with this presentation. Firstly, we will see what are Chrysler and Daimler, and later we will provide you our research in this case of what happened with this merger. Chrysler. Chrysler is one of the three big American car producing companies. Its headquarters are located in Auburn Hills, Michigan, United States of America. It was founded in 1925 by Walter Chrysler from the remains of the Maxwell Motor Company. Daimler. Daimler AG, or mostly known as Mercedes, is a German multinational car producing giant company. Its headquarters are located in Stuttgart, Germany, and it was founded in 1926 as a result of a merger between Mercedes and SIE and Daimler Motors Corporation. Chrysler before the merger. Chrysler was having financial problems in the late 70s. Chrysler was on the verge of the bankruptcy, but the legendary president Lee Iacocca brought Chrysler back to profitability, and in 7 years the company paid all their loans that they had to the US government. People even said in that time that Iacocca should have become the president of the United States of America. After that round of success, Iacocca was dealing with other things than Chrysler, and because of this, in 1988, Chrysler was hurt again. To a large extent, the new problems reflected in capital deprivation. Sufficient money had not been invested in new car and truck designs, and all that brought Chrysler to the problem that the legendary president had to resolve again. After Chrysler was hurt, Iacocca made the second comeback for Chrysler. An aging Iacocca again turned his full attention back to the car business, now 7 years after retiring his company's horrendous bank debt. He staked the company's resources on 4 high-visibility cars and trucks that we can see on the right side here. The Grand Cherokee Jeep, which is maybe the most known car from Chrysler, L-Edge sedans, a minivan, and a full-sized pickup. They were suspicious about these actions, but as we can see from this table here, Chrysler did awesome and was riding high. Again, Iacocca did an awesome job with Chrysler. And in 1992, he retired having a good reputation. In the following years, Chrysler prospered because of a combination of innovative designs, segment-leading products, and rising sales throughout the auto industry. And probably that was one of the reasons why it got Daimler's attention. This merger had very great expectations, and this merger was supposed to bring joy to Daimler in penetrating the US car market and bring back the Chrysler works in Europe, because in the past they had to sell all their belongings in Europe to PSA Citroën, because in order to come back and focus on strengthening the Chrysler USA company, which was struggling at that time. And the other reasons were the common ambitions that Daimler and Chrysler had, which were to become world's biggest car producing company and to dominate car sales around the globe. Yes, everyone thought that they will become the best, but what happened we will see later on this presentation.
Merger became worse, but there was no exact reason why this is happening, and Chrysler was wrecked, and there was different guesses of it. Chrysler had a real hard time during 2000 because he lost the $1.8 billion and went through the billion in cash, while many other companies were doing well, like Ford and General Motors. And at the time of Jürgen Schrempp, Daimler Chrysler chairman, he started his experience with the Mercedes-Benz almost 40 years before. But now he explored that he came across excellent challenge with Chrysler, but he pointed out that Daimler-Benz had been turned around in merely 2 years. I think we have the experience and know how to attend to matters, and if necessary we will do it at Chrysler. Our aim is to be the number one motor company in the world. And but still there was people who were thinking that Chrysler destroyed, that he didn't know that it was the people who counted, not the factories which were old, or the sales, old sales and profits, and which could come and go. Shrimp either forced the educate people to leave, and some would say that this is departures for of the heart and soul of Chrysler. But I think he was thinking good because he needs the new thinking way. And after about merger finishing, they were planning to get a budget which can consist 5 billion in 2000. However, because of the president's action, it reduced it to 2 times less, because the president he spent billions to retooling for new models introducing when there was economic decrease in the world. By taking this action, they could avoid some losses of the company, and but still it was not enough for them, and they have tried to explore some new ways. For example, they tried to reduce the price of the parts and manufacture, and by this part, but with cheaper parts, and produce the products. After these obstacles, the company was expected to face two major problems confronting Schrepp. In October 2000, despite misguessings by Chrysler executives, he acquired 34% of the Mitsubishi Motors with the option to up to the 100% after 3 years. Hardly had the deal been finalized than Mitsubishi admitted it had misled consumers around product about product quality for 10 years. It also announced that losses for the last half year had nearly doubled. Shrimp reacted by installing the turnaround expert as a chief operating officer at Mitsubishi, accompanied by those of Japanese-speaking Daimler executives. All the while, the new chief executive, Takeshi Sanobe, was quoted as saying that he, not the German team, remained in charge, and that he saw no, not they don't need for big changes a contest of wills. This, although there are many losses of the company, the Jürgen Schrems decided to send the Zetchi to send to Detroit with some simple instructions. He just sent this man to fire the head of the sales and marketing, and in some late later months he fired 29% of the workforce in the company in order to reduce the losses of the company.
Hello everyone, I'm gonna explain to you why the merger failed. So in this part, I'm going to explain why the merger of Chrysler and Daimler failed, but the real objective is to analyze and understand what are the variables, the reason and the criteria which can lead a merger or acquisition in general to a failure. So I'm going to present it in three little parts, which are Daimler fault, Chrysler fault, and external factor. For the first part, it's Daimler fault. So, during a merger between two international organizations, a very point important to see and difficult to harmonize is the different culture cooperation. Indeed, the national pride can be a brake on the good progress of a merger. In this case, one is a proud German firm and the other is a US firm with a long heritage. So a cohabitation seems difficult at the first, and this is the case because Daimler is a firm with organization and hierarchy very strict, in contrary to Chrysler, which is more in freewheeling. So during the 90s, Chrysler meets great success with her free culture of innovative thinking and technological leadership, but Daimler contexts and repudiates from this freedom and daring of Chrysler. So, and during the merger, Daimler imposes itself with its strict directive to suppress culture and through of Chrysler. The spirit of contest and wanting to crush the other without communication or agreement between the company is a needle in the foot for each of the companies. Daimler was at fault because a combination of their two opposing strategies which each worked in the past could have had much better results at the last up to those accepted before the merger. Schramm did another error 1 year after the merger, which have for consequences overproduction of older model vehicles, and so train big loss in Chrysler side. So during a merger, firms are linked, and the error of one leads the other to. Um, Daimler didn't know how to adopt a team spirit and to become aware of its responsibilities with respect to Chrysler. So that's the problem and the fault of Daimler. Now let's speak about Chrysler faults. So after the mid 90, Chrysler was in decline, and it's a big thanks to Daimler that she was able to get away with it in some way. But it didn't last long. If Chrysler would have been responsible, she should have in first get out from her bad situation, especially since Chrysler had wrongly predicted an increase in their market share to 20% that never happened. This error is the consequence of a surplus of confidence and a lack of critical analysis of the real situation of their company, as well as their vision and their objective. Indeed, in the early 90s, demand was present and strong, as well as their success, but the following years were not as good. So Chrysler spent a lot of equipment and renovating in factories. It went from the least possible worker to the most between 96 and 99. Alas, in 99, Chrysler relies on its leadership status thanks to Tess Vance forgetting and denying their condition with their declining market share because of their vehicles model too old his mismanagement. We have lost him because the money was misused, unoptimized, spending unnecessary and without reason. So this lack of management has suppressed communication and coordination, which is essential element of a healthy business. So much so that even for the purchase of parts, the different teams made their own choice without consultation. Chrysler got lost, had no goal or clear direction to follow, and his entrepreneurial culture had neither tail nor head. Their management was dead and without perspective, this without vision, without objective, and therefore without a clear mission to fulfill. So now I'm going to talk about external factors. So after these two parts, which talked about Daimler and Chrysler fault, we are going now to try to understand the external factor which train the merger to his loss. So in first, poor timing, calculation from the merger, as carrying out a merger during a decline of the economy and the auto industry is strategically bad and increases the risk of a failure. So the company spent in the middle of a tour and therefore without results. Chrysler did not pay attention to the competitive threat, either because of his period of success, a big mistake that led to his loss, with a big drop in the market share between 2000, the year 2000 and 2001. So now, after this, I'm gonna a little bit resume to understand all by the analyze. So by analyzing this part, which describe and explain in a certain way certain of faults that commit the two companies, we can say that the main criteria leading a merger to its failure are a company culture that is too different between the two companies, a lack of cooperation and equality in the sharing of responsibilities and duties of each company, the lack of a common strategy for the two companies which would have enabled them to meet the same objective and therefore bring to the two companies to the top, so different interests don't work. A company of the two in decline, so Chrysler, without management and without vision of sustainability, lack of communication in internal cooperation, the non-analysis of the strength, weakness, threat, opportunity of the companies, so the SWOT, and forgetting about the competition, and for finish, bad timing, because maybe if they were in a different situation and they were waiting for a better situation for begin the merger and etc. It will maybe work. So now note.
I'm gonna present the acceptation between Daimler and Chrysler in this merger. Daimler acquired Chrysler for $36 billion. Chrysler, an American car maker, wants to be a value-added supplier to Daimler, a German car maker, and also want to get a price for its stakes. It is a solution to accelerate their growth and even diversify their offer. To understand what is happening with Chrysler Daimler, let us illustrate the Lucent and Alcatel case. Lucent and Alcatel, global manufacturers of communication equipment, want to merge. On May 29, 2001, when the merger was about to be announced, Henry Bichach, president of Lucent, cancelled the negotiation. But why he cancelled the negotiation? The merger was more of an acquisition, and to avoid losing control of his company, Henry Bichach put an end to the merger. How is the merger going? Chrysler is an acquisition and Daimler is an acquirer. In this merger, the seats are equal in the merger, but basically the acquiring company is dominant. Even if their names are combined or changed, that does not mean the merger is equal. Chrysler wants to benefit from a merger of equals, but they can only be equal if both parties recapitalize with new shares, but that rarely happens. The US company is in a bad position in this merger. Why is Chrysler not the dominant company, as illustrated by the Bell Atlantic and GTA case? In 2000, Bell Atlantic and GTA merged and became Verizon. A company is said to be dominant when its size, resources, and shares are greater than those of the others. In this case, Bell Atlantic is the dominant company. If you combine that with our case, Chrysler is financially weaker than Daimler. In addition, Chrysler loses $2 billion in 2001, and the critics of the merger are endangering the company's subsidiaries and losing quality. How to recover? To turn Chrysler around, the two companies produce in plants in Germany that they can create better products in engineering and function that they then present the Pacifica, the luxury sports monopass, and the Magnum, the hatchback sedan. Chrysler is a premium brand that uses low-end trim sports, which negatively impact the image and quality of Chrysler product with its customer. Yet, Chrysler is generating profit, gaining marketing share, improving quality and design, and reducing product and sell costs. But unfortunately, not with the help of Chrysler new product, but with the help of the 3000C, a premium car that is less expensive than the competition and fully equipped. Since the old models were too expensive, prices were revised in order to defy the competition. The price of the 300C is $36,000 compared to $60,000 at BMW for an equivalent model. The promotion of the 300C was done with the collaboration of the famous Snoop Dogg in a clip by request of Chrysler. Chrysler even offered a vehicle to the rapper. Thanks to this operation, the market share increased from 12% to 13%. But Mercedes was suffering from quality problems. While it was the first luxury brand in the world, it ended up dropping to the 5th place. Daimler-Chrysler empire could collapse. The merger did not benefit both companies. Chrysler is entering a dark period. It loses another $1 billion and the US auto industry is in a very bad position. Chrysler goes on sale. Its activities has not allowed it to increase its customer base in the long term. Chrysler is bought out by Cerberus Capital Management for only $7 billion, and Daimler received only $650 from this buyout. A big mistake for Daimler, which is financially losing out. Chrysler does not sell any models and its sales have dropped by 40% to 20%. He lost his protection from the bankruptcy law, and Chrysler borrows $12 billion from the US government. In addition, Cerberus no longer owns Chrysler. Its development objective is a failure. Very bad position for Chrysler. Nothing goes according to plan and all control is lost. Get out of this mess and start over. Chrysler has the right to a second chance. It is bought out by Fiat CEO Sergio Marchionne, and the government becomes a minority shareholders. Marchionne's plan is to get Chrysler out of bankruptcy, and to do so, he completely redirects Chrysler marketing strategy by improving the logistics of the existing vehicles as well as the repayment of loans. Sir John McKeowney eventually succeeded in his plan with Chrysler. In addition, Chrysler has a new project. Its new income is $183 million and its market share is passed to 9% to 11% in 2 years. It is making his best profit. Marchionne wants to bring Fiat and Chrysler together to give Chrysler a larger international distribution channel.
The role of culture in Daimler-Benz Chrysler merger failure. The Daimler-Benz merger with Chrysler in 1998 is probably the most famous of all international mergers that ended in failure. Cultural differences and organizational culture are both acknowledged to have played their part. It was this failed partnership that first rang the alarm bells that cultural factors cannot be ignored on a global level, especially not with mergers and acquisitions. So, should Daimler-Benz express its dominance as an acquirer or try to be as soothing as possible? Morality probably won't be in the while there may be serious problems with this approach. Resolutions purchasing to continue working with little control can be disaster waiting to happen. This may happen, especially when Daimler was foreign company. So now about cultural factors. There were two cultures involved, German and American, but the executive office's decision making would be shared, with Chrysler's CEO Robert Eaton being a co-chairman with Schrempp. Chrysler management's expectations of equality with its prestigious merger partner were soon dashed. Schrempp, as it turned out, never indeed intended equality. He had flagrantly misrepresented the merger package and quickly got rid of Chrysler top managers. Was his deception unacceptable ethical conduct, or was it rather a hard-nosed negotiating ploy that Chrysler management should have recognized? Analysts agree that the cultural gap in the corporate cultures was one of the main reasons for the Daimler-Chrysler failure. Daimler was the German company which could be described as a conservative, efficient and safe, while Chrysler was known as daring, diverse and creating. If one looks closely, they will find manifestations of these differences in corporate cultures. Firstly, the attitude to hierarchy was quite different. Daimler was a very hierarchical company with a clear chain of command and respect for authority. Chrysler, on the other cultural hand, favored and more team-oriented and egalitarian approach. The other cultural difference lay in what the companies valued in terms of their clients. Chrysler valued reliability and achieving the highest levels of quality, while Chrysler was placing its bets on catchy designs and offering their cars for competitive prices. These two factors resulted in conflicting orders and goals in different departments. American and German managers have had different values which drove and directed their work. Different departments were heading in opposing directions. Apart from the difference in corporate culture, there was also an issue of trust. Employees on both sides felt reluctant to work with each other. Mainly, this was caused by the realization that the agreed term merger of the equals was pretty far from reality. During the initial stage of organizational integration, huge bulks of Chrysler's key executives either resigned or were replaced by German's counterparts. Moreover, Daimler was much more imposing and tried to dictate the terms of which the new company should work. Such a situation didn't inspire trust in Chrysler's employees and raised some serious communications challenges. So, to summarize the cultural factors in play here, the first one is differences in corporate cultures and values, and the second one is lack of coordination and severe lack of trust among the employees. So now about the cannibalization. What is cannibalization at all? In marketing strategy, cannibalization refers to a reduction in sales volume, sales revenue, or market share of one product as a result of the introduction of a new product by the same producer. Cannibalization occurs when a new product takes away sales from the existing product. This is like to occur whenever a product is introduced but flooding the market with the old product just before a new model introduction. So, now about the danger of cannibalization in Daimler Chrysler. Daimler Chrysler found that it took both massive rebates of the old models as well as substantial price reductions of the new ones to move the inventory. All this destructive to profitability. Chrysler's problems in 2000s were aggravated by the fact that the new models were not enough technologically superior as provided with expensive options that some buyers found not worth the extra money.